Mr. Young.
Mr. Ambassador, thanks so much for being here today. Really do appreciate it. I'll begin by noting my colleague, Mr. Griffin of Arkansas, was called away to the floor, and he just asked that I convey to you he'll be submitting a letter for your consideration pertaining to TPP and Japan's treatment of rice, also pertaining to dumping of steel rebar from Turkey and Mexico. So he'll look forward to your responses there. Mr. Ambassador, I recently, working with several of my colleagues, helped launch a caucus related to TTIP. And this is a very important issue, and we hope we can consummate this free trade agreement in coming years between the U.S. and EU. Were we to do so, it's projected that exports from my home state of Indiana would increase by roughly 33%, and there would be a net increase in employment of up to 13,780 jobs. The largest category of exports that will benefit from this agreement, we estimate, will be pharmaceuticals. So, of course, the intellectual property right protections that we've heard about here today are very important to that industry as we work on this agreement. From your perspective, what barriers for IPR-intensive trade are most significant as we look at the U.S. and EU negotiations? Perhaps you could cite areas where there could be some convergence and other areas where harmonization might not be possible.
You know, I think the one thing that characterizes the U.S.-EU relationship is that both of us have strong intellectual property rights regimes, and so we start from a fairly common perspective in that regard. And obviously our innovative and creative industries will benefit from that perspective, and we're going to try and work together through TTIP, the U.S. and the EU, to promote strong intellectual property rights protections elsewhere around the world as well. As part of TTIP, we are working to bring our regulatory systems closer together, or to bridge divergences in our regulatory systems without reducing, undermining, lowering our health, safety, and environmental standards. Neither one of us want to lower our standards. The President spoke quite eloquently on this in Brussels last week. And so this is not about deregulation. It's about taking two well-regulated markets, but markets that are regulated in slightly different ways, and if those differences create trade barriers, and seeing whether we can bridge those trade barriers by further cooperation on the regulatory side. And our FDA is working closely with the EMA in Europe to determine what areas of cooperation may allow for more interaction in pharmaceuticals and in medical devices.
So my sense is, based on your response, which I appreciate, is that we're still teasing out some of those areas, the thornier areas, the areas of common agreement, and so forth. So we'll look forward to staying in touch in that regard. With respect to AGOA, essentially a development program designed to benefit the lesser developed countries of Africa, that expires in September of 2015, and we want to make sure this reauthorization occurs in a way that improves upon, ideally, the existing program. And I know that USTR has requested several studies from ITC pertaining to the program and its effectiveness and operation and so forth. This committee has requested a separate study from GAO. Can we agree to share information so that we can work together to improve this program?
We certainly want to work closely with this committee and others in Congress on this issue. We launched a full review of AGOA last August, precisely to do what you've laid out, assess what's worked well, what's worked less well, what's changed in the African economies, what's changed in their relationships with their trading partners, and as we seek the seamless renewal of AGOA next year, what needs to be done to update it to make sure it's having maximum impact along the lines that it was originally designed. So we very much look forward to working with you on that.
Thank you. Finally, I would just build upon Representative Pascrell's comments pertaining to intellectual property protection as it relates to Canada, particularly important to the pharmaceutical industry, and you'll be receiving a letter from Representative Pascrell and myself, along with several other members, pertaining to this issue and elevating to Special 301 priority watch list in 2014 because of Canada's lack of adequate and effective intellectual property right protection. So we'll look forward to getting your response on that. I appreciate the dialogue today, and thank you again for your service.
Thank you.